Matthew's asking about how much pressure do I apply when using the looped finger and thumb? So kind of hard to get somebody over the phone, but
that's a great question.
I'm sure you've done it before. So how can you help our friend Matthew?
Well, I'll tell you what, there are two mistakes that most people make when they're doing self-testing. One mistake is they use too much force. Now, I used more force than I should have. My fingers hurt for about 7 years. It's really actually true. I'm ashamed to admit it, but it's really true. I was using too much force, and if anything hurts, of course, you want to stop and try something different or back off. Here's how much force I would use. Was this the ring and ring method? It doesn't really matter. But about as much force as that I use now is, if you can imagine holding a ladybug in between your fingertips, okay? And you're not going to hurt that ladybug. You're just holding it there. That's about how much force you can actually use and get really nice, accurate tests. It's not a force thing. So it's way less force than you think. The other mistake that most people make is when they're trying to get an answer on self-testing, they're focusing on their fingers, right? And what their fingers are doing. Now, the problem with that is if you're a typist, okay, here's a keyboard. If you're a typist, if you can type, like, I think I could type maybe 60 words a minute at one point. If you're typing along and you're maybe going 60 or 70 words a minute, your fingers are doing what they're doing automatically, all right? And you're on autopilot. Your subconscious mind knows how to do that. What happens if you're a typist and you start thinking about what your fingers are actually doing is that you start making all kinds of mistakes. Your speed just drops dramatically, and it does not work. It's the same exact principle for self-testing. So what you do is when you ask the question, you have your heart full of love and gratitude, and you focus on the question at hand or on the person that you're testing, whatever it might be. The last thing you want to focus on is your fingers, because if you focus on those fingers and what they're doing, it short circuits your subconscious mind's ability to really get that answer. If you allow the testing to take place slightly disconnected from you, so that you're not really thinking about it, you're just doing it, it actually works so much better. So try that, okay, Matthew?
And can you tell us a little bit more about, because we know the very first rule here is make sure you're nice and hydrated. Can you explain the relationship between water and connectivity for me, please?
Well, sure. I mean, the human body essentially is an energy field. But if you think about, the easiest way to think about this is the battery on your car. Okay. Now, it used to be that batteries would have little caps on the top that you'd have to open periodically and fill them with water. Because if you didn't have water in there, you wouldn't be able to get the conductivity that you needed, and the battery wouldn't start your car. Batteries now are all sealed, and I'm dating myself. This is how this used to be, but right. But your body is also can be thought of as a battery, and you need to be hydrated to get good conductivity going on with the body. And really, what's happening is when you're doing testing, excuse me, when you're doing testing, you're relying on the body's ability to be a conductor. And so that is one of the reasons why people have trouble testing, that they're dehydrated. The most common reason that people have trouble being tested, where we call them being untestable temporarily, is that they have something out of alignment in their neck. And so again, in a lot of the videos, I show how you can actually, if you find that that's the reason, you can actually just use a magnet or your fingertips, go down the back a few times with an intention to realign that spine, because the reality of it is bones, even though we think they're made of calcium and so on, that's true, but ultimately everything is just made of energy. And if you can wrap your mind around that idea and really own that idea, you see the world differently, you see the body differently, and it frees your mind to be able to do things that otherwise might seem impossible. So hopefully that helps.